What's up everybody? Welcome to the third video of this I don't know how long Python course. Last time we've been talking about variables and the most basic data types. And I've promised you that today we will make our programs more interactive with us. So what we've been doing for the past two videos is writing simple instructions in our Python file and then running the code. So the code starts, it runs everything we've written, and it ends. It's not interactive at all. What we will want to do right now is build a program that is interactive with us, meaning that it won't just start, do its stuff and stop. It will receive some stuff from us and it will do something with the stuff that we gave it while it is running. The first thing that you might want to see is this line of code here. Process finished with exit code 0. And the most important word here is finished. Well, this line was written out every time that we ran this green button here, meaning that the Python code has stopped. What we're going to learn right now is the input function. Okay, so we've learned two functions before. We've learned print, which writes out anything to the console, and we've also learned about type. Now let's talk about input. And I want you to look at this line here and see if it appears. That's one thing. Another thing I want you to look at is this set of controls right here, because every time that we've been running a program, we hit the green button, and after it stopped, it was the green button here again. Now, if you write input with parentheses right here, and you run this thing, well, you can see that you get this run again button, and you have this red square button, which means stop. Now, it means stop because this program is running. Now, you can see that you don't have a process is finished message, meaning that the program is still running. The input waits for us to write something in the console. So let's write something. Let's say, hello, my name is Tony. And when we press enter, the program stops. Because once we press enter, this input will save the message that we have written. So this program is kind of interactive, but this still doesn't really do much. So what we can do right now? Well, whenever we press enter, anything that we have written here in our console will be saved by this input. So we can actually save this in a variable. Let's call this variable message. Message equals input with parentheses. Now, anything that we write here, and after we press enter, this thing will be stored in the message variable. So we can actually do something more with this. We can print something out. We can print message, comma, and let's write this was sent to the program by the user. Okay. So let's run this again, and since we have the input will wait for us to press enter, because once we press enter, it will save the message, well, this time in the message variable. So let's write something. This is another message, and once we hit enter, this will be printed out. Well, the first thing is the message, meaning the thing that was saved by the input function. Now, what did this save? It saved this thing. So this thing is exactly printed out first. And what's printed out next? Well, values separated by a comma inside print will be printed out with a space. So the first thing is the message that we have received, and the next thing is a space, and this very long string right here. This was sent to the program by the user. Alright, so another cool thing about this input function is that we can actually display something that's going to be written out before we input any values. So I'll show you what this means. Let's write message again. message equals input, and inside this input function we can actually write a string. Now what this string will be is the thing that will be displayed in the console, just like print does, but this will be displayed before we hit enter or before we type in anything. So for example, let's say message equals input, and inside we will write enter a message colon. Now if we run this, then you can see enter a message colon is written out. And after this, we can type in a message. For example, a message. Well, for now, it doesn't do anything. And in order for it to make some sense, let's write print your message is, comma, message. All right, let's try it again. My name is Tony. And your message is, my name is Tony. Okay, so what you might notice here is that after we've written enter a message, there is no space, right? So this function doesn't automatically generate a space. Print does that if you pass in many things separated with commas. If you add another thing like 21, then this will be displayed with a space after the message. Now the input doesn't do that, so if you want to have a space after this, then you need to add this space inside the string. So now if you run it again and you try to add something here, you have a space generated. Alright, so the next thing I would like to talk about is typecasting. So what typecasting is basically changing the data types of specific variables. So for example, we have an age variable. Let's say age equals this time 100. Someone lived a whole century. So what we would like to do, for example, is represent this age as a string of text. Okay, so let's remind ourselves. If we want to have a string of text, we want this to be of type str. So str is the string type in Python, and this is the type that we want to achieve. We want to make this age, which is an integer right now, an int, we want to make this a string. How do we do this? Well, we just ask ourselves, what type does this need to be? This needs to be a string. So we are going to say str of age. So str is also a function, and this function can accept an age, it accepts any different data type, and this will give us back a string. So let's actually set a new variable. Let's set string age equals str of age. Okay, so now let's print out as string age, and what we get is 100 again. But if we print out age, well, you might notice that they don't really differ a lot. However, if we were to print out the types of these two things, so let's print type of string age, and this will be type, and inside this type we will pass on string age, and apart from that we will print type of age, and we will write type age. Alright, so if we run this code, then we get type of string age is a str, it's of class string, and type of the regular age is of class int. So the typecasting did actually work, the type actually did change from int to string. Now you might be wondering, where would we actually use something like this? And this example will be great. So let's get back to the input function. Let's say age equals input, and inside here we'll write enter your age with a spacebar, and then we will print out what type is age. So once we receive this message from our console, we would like to know what type this is. So let's run. Let's say enter your age, I am 21 years old, and now this will say that it's of type string. So anything you type in this input function, anything you type in here, this will be saved as a string. So let's say that we want to print out a message. Print in 20 years you will be, comma, and let's say age plus 20. Well, we can add this to our age, and let's see how old we will be in 20 years. Once we do this, let's write I am 21, so in 20 years I should be 41, if my math is correct. And we get an error. This is the first error message that we got in this series. And what it says, type error. We can only concatenate string to string. Now, this might not mean anything to you at the moment, but what this means is that we cannot add an integer to a string, because as you remember, age is of type string. It's not of type integer. So what we need to do here is we need to say age equals int of age. Okay, so what we're actually doing here, this might be a weird syntax. What's happening here is we are resetting the age variable. So before, this was a string that represented the age that we have put in. So what we are doing here is saying, okay, we are redefining this age variable, and what this will be? Well, this will be int of the old variable here. So whatever is on the left side of the equals is the new variable, and if the same name actually existed before, well, then we are just going to use the old value of it. So the age here is going to be the old value, meaning this one. And this age on the left side will be the redefined, the new version. So what we're doing here, this was string, now age is an int. And now if we run this program, let's say enter your age, 21. In 20 years, you will be 41. So this works perfectly. Alright, but there is also one drawback here. What would happen if I enter my age this way, for example? My age is 21. Or even, what if I say enter your age and I write pizza? Well, it's a value error. This is the second error we get in this series. It says invalid literal for string with base 10, which is pizza. Meaning that we cannot change pizza into an integer. If we want to change a string, which is this, into an integer with this int function, well, the string needs to be made out of digits only. It can be from 0 to 9. It cannot have letters, because then we will get an error, a value error. So in the real world, we actually have this enter your age thing quite often. Sometimes we need to have our age verified. For example, we cannot drive a car, here in Poland at least, if you're under 18. You cannot be a resident if you're like under 30. So we might want to implement some of these conditions into our program. So for example, we would want to print out something if you are over 18, if you are under 18, and if you are, for example, over 30. So this is what we're going to be talking about in the next video. So stay tuned and see you next time.